Hello, my name is Roman. Welcome to my YouTube channel. A lot of people get self-love and ego confused. That's a very common thing to get confused, but in reality, they are two very different things. And I wanted to make a video on that because I've struggled with, kind of finding the line between the two. Because, you want to be loving towards yourself, but when does it hit the point where you're kind of putting yourself above another person, right? The important thing to know about self-love is that comes from within, and it is self-regulating, right? So when you decide to tell yourself in the mirror, oh, I'm beautiful, oh, I'm attractive, oh, I am cool, I'm a good person, that is not ego. A lot of people think that that is egotistical. That is not ego. That is just simply telling yourself positive things about yourself. It's not taking away from anyone else. It's not being rude to someone else. And it's not, putting other people in a bad position because it's just you. It's self-conditioning, right? It's something that you have control over, right? If you go to the gym 5 days a week, if you do yoga, if you do things to help yourself, if you meditate, those are all examples of loving yourself. Self-love, it's very important to realize that that is conditional on how you treat yourself and how you feel about yourself. Ego, on the other hand, comes from outside oneself. It is not something that you actively regulate for yourself, right? It is not something that you're not sitting, it's not something that relies entirely on you, right? It can be oftentimes people who are egotistical. They may present an image as if they are, this super great person, but in reality, their whole ego and their whole idea of themselves is entirely dependent on another human being, on the reciprocation of those feelings by another human being, on the validation of another human being. Obviously, there are some people who are egotistical and narcissistic and don't at all care about other people at all. But oftentimes, I find that most people who struggle with self-love can at times struggle with, trying to figure out where the line is between ego and self-love. People who are narcissistic, on the other hand, they don't really even have an awareness of other people. So I'm not really talking about that. Ego oftentimes is a projection of oneself. That's one very important distinction to make. An ego is what you feel about yourself and the feelings you have about who you are that may bring yourself above another person, It might be, oh, I am, a common egotistical phrase is, I am better at this than someone else, or I am better than someone else. Or even just trying to put someone else down. This person is, this person's not as good at this. This person, this person looks, acts, talks poorly. Oftentimes, people who make fun of other people and judge people in that way, they're not really, it says less about the person who they're judging and way more about themselves, right? And that's where, that toxic ego comes from. In a desire to bring yourself up, you put others down. In a desire to bring yourself up, you rely on external things rather than internal. That's the big thing, right? A lot of people who are egotistical, for example, they are reliant on the things they might have. If they drive a nice car, or if they own a nice house, or if they, have a lot of money or a lot of possessions, they may be using that to give themselves almost a leg up above other people. And while those things are great, and just because you have them doesn't mean you're egotistical, it's one of those things where when you use it, that type of person, when you use it in a way where it's like, oh, you definitely think highly of yourself, that's when it starts to become negative for other people, right? It's important to have positive things about yourself, But all of the things in this world that are going to truly bring you happiness and bring you self-love aren't going to be things that are reliant on other people as much, aren't going to be things that are as reliant on the objects you have. If you have a lot of self-love, you're the type of person who can tell yourself positive things about yourself to raise yourself. If you're the type of person who is egotistical or is perhaps, because everyone does this. Everyone, let me put this straight actually. Everyone has a bit of both. But if you're the type of person who is using your ego in a way where you're acting like your ego is self-love. So what you really have to be careful of when it comes to self-love and ego, though, is making sure that you find the line between the two of those. Because there is a fine line. There's a very fine line. And a lot of people, especially in like the online space of self-help and self-confidence, can at times kind of play in the gray area between those two. Can kind of start to push self-love into egotistical territory, right? And that's really important that we don't do that, because it's encouraging people to still, even if it is something that they view as supporting themselves, it is still pushing their idea of their self-worth into another person's hands, which is not what we should be doing, in this community. What do you see online? Sometimes you see, people who, especially people who are talking about self-confidence in relationships, they might be like, oh, I'm amazing, I'm this great, fantastic person, and, my ex didn't deserve me. My, whatever, this, that, and the other thing. And those things could entirely be true, but you see a lot of these narratives of like, I am this fantastic person because everyone around me thinks so. Oh, I am this fantastic person because all of my exes still want to be with me, or all of my enemies still like me, or still care about me, or still look at my whatever, look at my Instagram, look at my whatever. That isn't self-love. That is plain ego. Maybe as a part of their message, they're like, oh, you should meditate, you should work out, you should do all those things that, I would encourage anyone who is on a self-love, self-help journey to do. But, very clearly, that isn't really giving their audience really the best message. That's why I feel the need kind of to make this video, is because I feel like in this space I've seen both sides kind of depicted. It's really important to know that your self-worth, who you are, the type of person you want to be, is really entirely dependent on you and not in the hands of others. And any time you sit there and say, oh, everyone around me loves me and thinks I'm beautiful and thinks I'm so attractive and thinks I'm so, this, that, and the other thing, you are still putting your worth slightly into another person's hands. Everyone's victim of this, or everyone's, guilty of this. I know I am. I know I've had many times in my life where I'm like, I'm attractive. I could tell myself that I'm attractive, but I've had many times in my life where I have taken my own attractiveness, my own beauty, what I know about myself to be true. And, everyone should know this about themselves, that they're beautiful, that they're attractive, that they're good. But I've taken that and I've projected it and said, oh, because this person thinks I'm attractive, I must be attractive. Because these people all think I'm attractive, Is that really what you're going to hang your hat on terms of how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your own beauty? Is that really what you're going to do? Because I can tell you right now, that didn't lead me very good places. So, it is something we're all guilty of. It's something that I'll be guilty of in the future, and it's something that every single person watching this at some point is going to be guilty of. It might be about, intelligence, right? It might be, oh, I I'm my professor's favorite student. Therefore, I'm better than all of you else. That might be like the energy that you or the thought that's in your head when you're in class, for example. If you're in, I don't know, if you're in, let's just say, chemistry, and your professor's just, you are their teacher's pet. That Projecting that though onto everyone else in the classroom and being like, oh, like the professor loves me so much and gives me such good grades. Those people. Everyone's met those people before. And why are they, annoying? Because they're fucking egotistical about their intelligence. Like, it's obnoxious, right? And you know, it's honestly, I have to say, like, one of the most annoying traits for me personally is people who are egotistical about their intelligence. And I've come into contact with a lot of them, and they make people around them feel stupid in order to bring themselves up. And that isn't the way you want to do life. You don't want to also be the person who makes other people around them feel ugly because you feel so attractive. You don't want to be the type of person who makes others feel or even like those people who, donate a lot to charities, right? They are, oh, they're so kind, they're so this, they're so that, and then they really, really, attach that to their ego, and then they make people around them feel like shit because maybe they don't donate as much, or maybe they haven't worked at as many soup kitchens as they have. So, you know, seeing the world through the eyes of yourself, seeing through the world through the eyes of how you feel about yourself is really important. I also think that some people like to toxify self-love at times and act like self-love is this terrible thing, just like my example before of just telling yourself, in the mirror, or telling yourself when you're taking a shower that you're beautiful, you're attractive. Those things are positive. Those things are good. And so is doing things like having proper boundaries with people. If you have a toxic person in your life and you don't want to involve yourself with them anymore and you want to unfollow them or block them, that's entirely up to you. That isn't really hurting someone else, right? That's just taking care of yourself. Ego is, on the other hand, when you actually take those feelings out on someone else directly. When you tell people, oh, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm this cool, amazing person, and you are less than me, so therefore this, that, and the other thing, right? If you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to take yourself out and take yourself out of the situation and be on your own and do your own thing for a while, make that decision. Don't fuck with people, right? But that is something that is very, very much so a self-love thing. Some people view that as being egotistical, but that isn't. That's taking care of yourself, right? And everyone probably should be a little bit more aware of when people are taking care of themselves, because that is important. Self-love comes within. It's conditional. Ego relies on someone else's opinions. And knowing the distinction between when you are acting in a way that is loving towards yourself versus acting in a way that is reliant on another human being is really important. Anyways, I am going to go. This was a good video. I enjoyed this. This was nice. See ya in another video. Goodbye.